Please join me in welcoming Mayor Julián Castro.
Good morning. Good morning. Dean Hutchings and Associate Dean Stoll, thank you so much for your fine leadership of this distinguished institution. And thank you to all of the LBJ School faculty and staff for your great work throughout the year. And to the parents, the family, friends, and alumni here to share this special moment, your love and your pride is very easy to see. Thank you to Peter for those inspiring remarks. And to all of you, the graduates, congratulations! Let me just say that y'all look great out here today. Today is undoubtedly a day of celebration, of joy, of relief, of dreams coming true, of eyes set on the future, and a time when a commencement speaker is asked to get into this silly get-up and to share a pearl of wisdom. And if you'll permit me, let me share two. Let me tell you about two moments in my life and what I learned from them. The first one is a real horror story. You see, I graduated from college in 1996. And before graduation, I got into law school, and I requested a one-year deferral. My mother's mother, my grandmother, had passed away earlier that spring, and so my brother Joaquin and I wanted to go back home for a year and spend some time with family. And that September, a few days after I turned 22, I found myself standing in a classroom in my old high school, Thomas Jefferson High. I couldn't quite believe that I was there. I still looked like I belonged in the classroom. Except this time, I was a teacher. Actually, I was a substitute teacher. Well, not just any substitute teacher, I was a permanent sub. You remember what a permanent sub is, don't you? That poor soul who has neither the advantage of getting into a class one day and quickly getting out before the neighbors get restless, nor the actual skill to, well, teach. The school was old, but it was beautiful. It had been built in the early 1930s on the edge of town at that time, with grand architecture in the style of Jefferson's Monticello. It had been the first high school with a fully air-conditioned gym in the United States, featured in 2 Hollywood movies during its first decade. Back then, it had been the place to be. But by the time I stood in that classroom, some 60 years later, it was anything but that. It had become an inner-city school with inner-city problems. High dropout rates, low expectations, overcrowded classrooms. A day after I'd arrived at the school, the principal called me into her office. Would I like to teach 3 classes of my own for the semester? She asked me. She didn't tell me at the time, but the gossip around the school was that another teacher, one who'd been there for a while, had had a nervous breakdown. And I was the fresh meat that she was sending in to take over. Of course I said yes. I was 22. I taught world geography. One of my classes had 37 students, the second one had 38, and the third had 39. And on this particular morning, I started the class off by calling roll, and then I picked up my chalk, and I turned around to write something on the blackboard, and then it happened. I felt it hit the back of my head and ricochet off onto the floor. A student had rolled up what must have been 3 or 4 loose leaf papers together into a tightly wound, well-constructed paper ball. a monster paper ball. He flung it at the back of my head and hit a bullseye. And as soon as it slapped the back of my head, I could hear a howl go up behind me from the students. And this was it, the scariest moment of my not-so-professional life. What in the world would I do now? Would I turn around and try and figure out who had thrown the paper ball, make an example out of him, and send him to the vice principal's office? Or should I just play it off and act like nothing happened? Try and save my dignity. I was so embarrassed. I think that's what I did. The second moment helped make me who I am today. And it happened 10 years earlier, when I was about 12. I grew up on the west side of San Antonio. My parents had split up a couple of years earlier, and so Joaquin and I were living with my mother and my grandmother. I'd gone to public schools my whole life, but my mother had attended 16 straight years of Catholic school. And so during the 5th grade, she got a bright idea. Joaquin and I should go to Catholic school too. So for my 5th grade year, I did, but I didn't really take to it. The school didn't have any windows. It seemed like every afternoon by 3 p.m. I had a headache. And I took to popping 2.325 milligrams of Tylenol each and every day. For 6th grade, my mom put us back into public school. And we showed up at Rhodes Middle School for orientation. It was an auditorium not nearly this big, but just as dark. We then went there with my mom and with all the other incoming 6th graders and their parents. And at some point in the program, a counselor or an administrator got up and said, almost in this cliched way that you only hear in the movies, that we should all look around the room, because the chances were that up to half of us wouldn't be there when it came time to complete the 8th grade. Now, I didn't pay that much attention at the time, but later on that day, my mother pulled us out of Rhodes Middle School. She told me many years later that she did that because she wouldn't keep her boys anywhere that didn't believe that they could even finish the 8th grade. We finished the 8th grade, and then high school, and college, and then law school. And here I am today. That first moment, standing in that classroom, taught me that in this life, there is nothing quite like preparation. You have to know how to play the game before you can win it at anything in life. I found out that teaching was a craft, that it takes skill, that it took an understanding of how young people learn and an understanding of how to effectively manage a classroom. And it took a tremendous amount of patience. And me, back then, I didn't have a clue. I'd stepped into that classroom without the training or the skill to succeed. I had a lot of heart to help those students. I felt very blessed in my own life to get great opportunities, and I wanted to help extend that opportunity to them. I wanted to make a difference in their lives, but I couldn't do much for them because I wasn't ready. In your life, be prepared. Get ready. The second moment taught me to always surround yourself with people who love you. I don't know what would have happened to me or to Joaquin if my mother hadn't been there that day to deliver us to a better place. Maybe it made all the difference. Maybe it didn't make any difference. But why take a chance? In your life, surround yourself with the people who believe in you. Find them. Seek them out. The ones who often see more potential in you than you could even see in yourself. Whether you're a 6th grader or you're 60, it matters. And more than that, be one of those people to others in your life. Be a shepherd to them. In his 1965 We Shall Overcome speech, LBJ implored Congress to act to heal the nation's racial divide. And he reflected on his own life's journey. He said, "My first job after college was as a teacher in Cotulla, Texas, in a small Mexican-American school. Few of them could speak English, and I couldn't speak much Spanish. My students were poor, and they often came to class without breakfast and hungry. And they knew, even in their youth, the pain of prejudice. They never seemed to know why people disliked them, but they knew it was so because I saw it in their eyes. I often walked home late in the afternoon after the classes were finished, wishing that there was more that I could do. But all I knew was to teach them the little that I knew, hoping that I might help them against the hardships that lay ahead. And somehow you never forget what poverty and hatred can do when you see its scars on the hopeful face of a young child. I never thought then, in 1928, that I would be standing here in 1965. It never even occurred to me in my fondest dreams that I might have the chance to help the sons and daughters of those students and to help people like them all over this country. But now I do have that chance, and I'll let you in on a secret. I mean to use it." And he did use it. To his Great Society agenda, LBJ opened up the promise of America to all Americans. You are part of LBJ's legacy. And in this 21st century, in this time of rapid change and rapid opportunity, America needs your talent. I have no doubt that in the years to come, in all of the places that life will take you, that you will stand in many great places. And you will have a chance to do enormous things for people who need you. Carry with you the love and the support and the hope that you feel around you today. And when those moments come, with the preparation you've gained during your time at LBJ, with hard work and with good fortune, you can change the world for others, even when life throws a little paper ball at you. Thank you very much.